Muy buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches. Soy la profesora Lorraine. ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos a la Escuelita de Español. In our last episode, we stated that stem-changing verbs usually take the same endings as regular verbs, but have a spelling change in their stem. Today, we'll take a look at those weird stem-changing verbs that I would have mentioned in that last episode. We'll start with the verb oler. Oler. You could repeat after me. Oler. Oler means to smell. Now, this might look like a stem-changing verb whereby you only need to change the O to UE, right? So let's do that. The first thing we need to do is drop the ER ending. So now we are left with a stem OL. Now we change the stem from O to UE and then add our endings. So for this ER verb, for yo, we add O. This is what we ended up with. Yo huelo. Yo huelo, which means I smell. Now, here's where the weird comes in. When the stem changes, you must add an H to the beginning. So instead of U-E-L-O, to say I smell, it's yo huelo, but it's spelled H-U-E-L-O. Remember that an H in Spanish is always silent, so this extra letter doesn't have any effect on the pronunciation. Taking what we've just learned into consideration, can you figure out the other 5 present tense forms for oler? So for yo, we remove the ER and we would add O. For tú, we add ES. For él, ella, or usted, we add an E. For nosotros, we do not have the change in the stem, but we do add EMOS. For ustedes, we add EN. And for ellos, we add EN. So this is how it would sound like. To say I smell, yo huelo. You smell, tú hueles. He smells, él huele. She smells, ella huele. It smells, you simply say huele. And of course, if you're talking about usted, which is the formal way of saying you say usted huele. Nosotros olemos means we smell. Ustedes huelen, you, in the plural sense, you smell. And finally, ellos huelen. Ellos huelen means they smell. So let's just repeat the Spanish. Yo huelo. Tú hueles. Él huele. Ella huele. Usted huele. Nosotros olemos. Ustedes huelen. Ellos huelen. The second verb I'd like to introduce is the verb jugar. Repitan conmigo. Jugar. Jugar means to play, and it's the only example of a verb whose stem changes from a U to UE. So let's get into conjugate the verb jugar, which means to play. I just want to remind you of the endings that we usually add with AR verbs. These are O, ES, A, AMOS, AN, and AN. So, if I want to say, I play, yo juego. Repitan conmigo. Yo juego. You play. Tú juegas. Tú juegas. He plays. Él juega. Él juega. She plays. Ella juega. Ella juega. For when we're referring to a thing or an animal, we simply say juega. The formal way of saying you play es usted juega. Let's take a look at we play. Remember that with the pronoun nosotros, we do not have a change in the stem. But since we add AMOS to that, to say we play, you need to say nosotros jugamos. Nosotros jugamos. To say you play in the plural sense, you play, ustedes juegan. Ustedes juegan. And finally, they play. Ellos juegan. Ellos juegan. There are also two verbs that exist that change an I to an IE. They are adquirir. Try saying that. Adquirir, which means to acquire, and inquirir, which means to inquire. Let's try that again. Adquirir, inquirir. So let's remember that this is an IR verb. So after removing the IR, we need to add certain endings. The endings for IR verbs are O, ES, E, IMOS, EN, and EN once again. So after you would have removed the IR, remember to change the I to an IE in the stem. So if you want to say I acquire, you need to say yo adquiero. Yo adquiero. You acquire. Tú adquieres. Tú adquieres. He acquires. Él adquiere. Él adquiere. She acquires. Ella adquiere. Ella adquiere. If you wanted to refer to you as in the formal way, you say usted adquiere. Usted adquiere. And if it's it acquires, simply say adquiere. For we acquire, remember for the nosotros pronoun, we do not change anything in the stem, but we do add IMOS. So we acquire is nosotros adquirimos. Nosotros adquirimos. Let's look at you, the plural you, acquire. Ustedes adquieren. Ustedes adquieren. And lastly, they acquire. They acquire, which means ellos or ellas adquieren. Ellos adquieren. Bueno, chicos, there you have it. These were only some of the weird stem changing verbs that I was telling you about. It might seem like a lot, but you don't need to learn everything at once. For one thing, if you still haven't got a solid grasp of regular verb endings, you should work on that and then officially move on to irregular verbs. But most importantly, practice using them in your daily life. As always, muchas gracias for joining me. I hope you found today's class beneficial and do tune in soon for another episode of La Escuelita de Español. I'm your host, Miss Lorraine, saying nos vemos pronto.